If you're shopping for an HDMI switch, you've probably come across the Fosmon 5-port HDMI switch, promising seamless 8K video switching and ultra-fast performance. But here's what surprised me. After installing it, my gaming setup turned into a source switching nightmare with lag and random blackouts. Most reviews rave about the 8K glory, but I found there's a major catch. Before you hit buy, stay tuned because I'm about to expose the hidden problems with this switch you won't see in the ads. Alright, if you want a quick win, this switch asterisk should work flawlessly for anyone with multiple HDMI devices like game consoles, streaming boxes, or PCs, aiming for the latest 8K tech. However, the reality is more complicated. So what's the deal with this Fosmon? Let's dive in. First off, the Fosmon 5-port HDMI switch claims support for HDMI 2.1 with an 8K resolution at 60Hz. That sounds perfect on paper, especially if you have the new PS5 or Xbox Series X with 48 Gbps bandwidth. It advertises ultra-fast data transfer to keep the picture crisp and gaming smooth. It even boasts features like variable refresh rate (VRR), auto low latency mode (ALM), and HDR support for lifelike visuals. Sounds like the HDMI dream, right? Well, here's the twist. To get the real 8K experience, you need HDMI 2.1 cables for both inputs and outputs, and keep each cable under 3 meters. That's already a limitation because many people use longer cables, and cheaper or older HDMI cables won't handle 8K signals properly. If you don't heed that, you'll encounter flickering or no signal at all, which is a classic Fosmon headache. But there's more. The switch uses a USB-C power input that requires a separate 5V charger, not included. Power it with a subpar adapter and you might face random disconnects. I once jokingly told my switch, "Hey buddy, you powered up, why so unreliable?" Turns out, it was the charger's fault. Durability-wise, the Fosmon is built with a premium aluminum shell to help with heat dissipation and signal integrity. For a $40 price point, that's a solid build. However, the internal processing tends to lag behind expectations. Multiple users report an annoying latency spike when switching sources, causing screen freezes for a second or two. If you're switching between devices multiple times during gameplay or streaming, that delay becomes a real deal-breaker. Let's pause here and ask, do you want a reliable source switcher that handles all your HDMI gadgets painlessly, or a fancy-looking box that trips on its own cables? That question matters because if you're a gamer or media buff craving zero lag, the Fosmon might test your patience. Now, you may be wondering, does this switch work well enough with lower resolution devices? And here's the silver lining. For older 1080p or 4K setups, it performs fairly well without many hiccups. It's backward compatible, so it can still switch older devices smoothly. But if you're upgrading to 8K luxury and expecting seamless transitions, the Fosmon falls short. In fact, the 3.8-star rating on Amazon reflects this mixed experience. Some buyers praise the plug-and-play simplicity. The single-button switch is cute and intuitive, and its aluminum casing feels premium. But similar numbers of folks complain about signal dropouts, delayed switching, and compatibility quirks with certain TVs and consoles. One user hilariously commented, "This HDMI switch is like a bad relationship, promises the world with 8K dreams but leaves you buffering and frustrated." I felt that. Here's another catch. Fosmon strictly mentions it does asterisk not support 1-in-2-out functionality. So no spreading one device's HDMI to multiple screens with this. That might limit your setup options if you were hoping for a versatile splitter. Also, keep in mind that the device's size is slightly bulkier than some competitors, which might clutter your entertainment center. And due to its aluminum body, it gets warm, which is great for heat dissipation but can be alarming if you expect a cool gadget. Since we're on heat, it's worth noting Fosmon's design prevents overheating during extended use, so no worries there. But if you're not powering it correctly or using improper HDMI cables, heat won't fix signal dropouts. Are you still with me? Because here comes a twist. What if you want top-tier HDMI switching but dislike troubleshooting? In that case, other brands with better firmware stability and included power adapters might be better, even if pricier. But before you run off, here's a small win. Fosmon customer support is responsive and helpful. They provide quick guidance on cable selection and power specifications. So if you have patience and can optimize your setup carefully, this switch can still shine. However, be prepared for some trial and error. One of my favorite jokes about this box is, why did the HDMI switch fail therapy? Because it couldn't handle all the connections. Yep, it gets emotionally unstable with bad cables. To summarize the deep dive, Fosmon 5-port HDMI switch is built for cutting-edge 8K performance and advertises great specs like 48 Gbps bandwidth, VRR, ALLM, and HDR support in a sturdy aluminum shell at a reasonable price of around $42.49. It's backward compatible, easy to plug and play, and ideal for users who only need straightforward source switching. But the catch is the technical demands. You need premium HDMI 2.1 cables under 3 meters and a good 5V power source to realize its promise, or you risk annoying lag, signal dropouts, and frozen screens. If your setup isn't optimized perfectly, this switch may frustrate rather than free up your entertainment center. Who is it for? If you're a tech-savvy gamer, streamer, or home theater enthusiast who loves tinkering, this switch is a decent buy, provided you invest in quality cables and power adapters. For casual users or those wanting a hassle-free 8K upgrade, it's a gamble. Now for the resolution. Despite the issues, Fosmon put together a robust physical product that delivers excellent video quality when everything lines up perfectly. It nixes the bulk of older 8K switches, which could barely handle 30 Hz or lower resolutions. The single-button toggle is easy to understand and operates swiftly in many cases. So should you buy the Fosmon 5-port HDMI switch? My honest verdict: yes, but only if you're ready to invest in compatible HDMI 2.1 cables and a solid 5V charger. If money is no object and you want peace of mind, explore other switches with higher reliability. But if budget is tight and you like tweaking settings for peak performance, Fosmon can deliver stunning 8K visuals once dialed in. With prices jumping frequently, you might snag it under $42.49 on Amazon right now. Links in the description below. Hurry though, because deals disappear faster than your HDMI signal on a bad cable. Final joke to send you off. Why did the TV date the HDMI switch? Because it wanted a connection that actually worked. Hopefully, after this review, you'll have that perfect connection. In conclusion, Fosmon's 5-port HDMI switch is a mixed bag. Exciting specs and solid design marred by cable sensitivity and occasional performance lag. But if you love 8K and multiple sources, it's worth a try with the right accessories. Remember, great gear needs great cables, or you'll just end up switching frustrations instead of sources. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to check the link for the best price while it lasts.